All right, so today I got a 2022 Taos Highline. Gonna do a subwoofer install on it. Going with a SCAR 10-inch sub, an MRX M100 Alpine amp, and LC2i from Audio Control to tie it into the factory system. Another thing I'm gonna do with this subwoofer is everything's gonna be mounted on the subwoofer box. I'm gonna do a couple quick connects on it so that if you gotta go to groceries or something, or you need to haul something bigger, you'll be able just to pull the disconnects off of the box and take the whole subwoofer out and it'll be out of your way. And then we'll use that one port on the back on the side to be able to tuck the wires in there and keep them so no one's gonna be throwing luggage on them or anything like that, getting them tore up. So with the car being a Highline, it has a factory subwoofer in it with a factory control on the dash, so it's gonna be pretty cool. We're gonna tie into the factory subwoofer so that you'll still be able to independently control the subwoofer volume from the factory head unit, and you're going to be able to get that extra bass in there because this little factory subwoofer, although it does add a little bit, it sure doesn't do much. It's just this little unit that sits inside the spare tire. Here's the wires that go to it. We're going to find the two wires that are carrying the sound out of that plug-in. We're going to run them into the LC2i. So to get things started, we're going to get a power wire to the back that's going to feed the amp and also the LC2i. We'll start by getting the battery removed. In behind there, I've seen there's a grommet in the firewall we'll be able to go through for the power wire. We'll pull it out under the dash. We're gonna move all these trim pieces around at the bottom of the doors, run the wire all through there until we get to the back here. All right, so I'm gonna get started with this battery. I'll check back when I'm starting to run the wire. All right, with the battery out of the way, you're gonna wanna pull this little felt piece out. It's way down in beside the brake booster down there. There's a grommet in behind there, and that's what we're gonna use to put the wire through. From the inside of the car, just pull back the carpet a little bit, and it's really accessible. You want to drill a hole through here, and there's gonna be lots of room. It's pretty easy to get to. And then I pulled the rear seat out. It's pretty easy, just pull up on the front of it and then fight with it, kind of getting the seat belts out of it, and then it just comes right out. Then we're gonna get this side panel off on the rear quarter and where the back seat was. There's a couple of clips on the bottom there, and then if you fold the seat down, the top just pulls right in. You're gonna need some panel tools to pop those clips, make sure you don't damage any panels, and you can see the bottom there just fits in that bottom piece. We are going to pull the wire from the back towards the front, and back at the front of the car where your feet are in the driver's seat, this kick panel here where the hood latch is, we're just going to pull it away a little bit just to give ourselves enough room to slide the wire up under there. We don't need to completely remove it. And then back into the rear hatch of the car here, this little port on the side that has a cover, you can just pop that out, and that's where we're going to be pulling our wires through and making a couple connections. Okay, I took the 4 gauge and I loomed it all. I'm gonna start running it from the back to the front. That's where I'll end up with the exact amount at the front. And then the excess back here, we'll just pick a length for that connector and then cut it off. So I'll start going through here. I wanna get it up there, down that wheel well arch, and then through the plastics up there and up to the firewall. Looks like it's gonna be a pretty easy run. So I'll get started here and get it up there, and then we can start putting panels back together. Look at that. That came through nice and easy. We'll pull it down. We're gonna go back and we're gonna zip tie it to the factory harness, keep it in place. Make sure we don't get caught on any of the spots where the panel clips in so it doesn't interfere with the panels fitting back in. I think I might loop it underneath this. This wire has a hump here. I'm gonna loop it there and then bring it. Well, let me look what side of wire we want that on first. Probably gonna want it on the inside, so we'll keep it on the inside to the inside of the car. Okay, so I ended up popping the grommet out just because it wanted to push out anyways. I'm gonna run this over the wire and then I'm gonna pull it back through. That way it'll have a nice tight seal and be snapped back where it should be. Here you can see the grommet on. I guess you could silicone if you want, but it's rubber and it's kind of pushed around there and sealed around there, so it's gonna be fine the way it is. Okay, so now we're gonna need to figure out how much wire we need to have up in the engine bay so we can make it nice and neat and tidy before we put the grommet back in. So I got my Stinger fuse holder. I'm gonna find a place to mount it up here, somewhere where it's accessible and where it's neat. I would like to put it right here, kind of like this, and then I'll route the wire right up into the back of it, and then this wire will go out, and then the positive battery cable is right beside it. That'll give us a nice spot for the wire to run, and we'll keep it in the loom. We'll tape it up, and it'll look like factory. So I'm gonna figure out how to put that on there. I just got to keep in mind that the ECM is right here, so if I went and put a bunch of self-tapping screws in there, you would drill right through the ECM and wreck the ECM. So we're not going to do that. I'm gonna see if I can rivet it in or something. I'll figure out a good way to do that, and then we'll get the wires around. So I ended up just using crazy glue to glue the fuse holder onto the ECM bracket there. I didn't want to risk drilling through it and damaging the ECM, then the car wouldn't be able to run. So just took the easy route, glued it on, then heat shrink the end and ran the wire nicely behind these ones. A couple of zip ties here, that'll be done. And then went and zip tied it along the main harness running down the side of the car. Just got to finish this up, and then we'll close all the panels in. And then for the other side of the fuse holder, I just run it in the loom as well, and then up to the battery here with a simple lug onto the battery nut. You make sure you don't do this till last though, until you have all the connections done at the subwoofer itself. Then I'm going to prepare the wires at the subwoofer itself. This is the connect that I got. It's rated for about 175 amps. It's going to be the quick connection to the subwoofer box. All you got to do is crimp those two lug ends on, and then they snap into the connector itself. Then you're going to want to use some heat shrink, make sure it looks neat, and some lube on them as well. Keep the wires protected. For the ground, I just used this metal that's sticking down as a part of the body in this little port at the back. I just drilled and cleaned up a hole there and attached the wire with a simple 5/16 bolt. And then that pretty much finished up our main power wires to the amp. Here you can see how I set up the subwoofer box. Everything's mounted to the box, and then just drilled holes where all the wires come out and ran them inside the box to keep everything real clean and nothing's going to be hanging around getting caught on nothing. Down here you can see at the bottom where I mounted the quick connect, so it's easy to get to, and then also you see that other little weather pack connector. That's for the signal. We'll cover that right now. Okay, so I got the wires tested with the multimeter, and it looks like there's a dual voice coil sub under there. And the ones that are tagged with the blue indicator line are a pair, and the ones that are tagged with the yellow indicator line are a pair. So I tapped into the blue ones for now, and I'll try plug it in and give it a test. Yeah, everything powers up, so that's a good sign. I'll just go turn a little bit of music on, make sure we got some sound come out of it, and then we can go ahead and finish up the install. I'm also going to tape this up for now. As soon as I can find a factory style connector, I'll replace the end of this wire right here with a factory style connector so it clips in, and then everything can be unplugged and none of the factory wiring has been touched in any way or modified. So with the sub signal wires taped up and connected, I just tuck that wire back in there for now. I can easily pull it out and I'll change that connector later on, but for now it's going to be just fine. Everything's working good. So you can see our finished wire here. I got the extra loom over it, taped it in a few spots. This is still very flexible. You'll be able to move it around. You can turn the sub box out sideways, easy to get the connections here. So that's the disconnect for the speaker signal, and then that's the disconnect for the main power to the amp. So that both comes off very easy. Everything's pretty accessible. I mean, didn't do anything crazy with the install. There's a couple of covers I got to put on the amp yet that I will. It sounds really good. I played around with the settings. I'm not going to bother telling you how to set anything up here. There's tons of videos on YouTube going over the LC2i and on how to set up an amplifier. I will just say an LC2i, if you need something that does a high level to low level control, so that takes your speaker level in, which is what the sub was, and gives it and converts it to an RCA, which is what the amp wants. There is speaker level in on some amps, but an LC2i is a much better route to take because it actually will restore your bass. You know how you turn up the volume in your vehicle and the bass kind of drops off? This little unit actually restores the bass and brings it back, getting it sounding really good again. But there's lots of videos on YouTube on how to set that thing up. And one more thing I should note, when you're putting a subwoofer in a vehicle like this or a car or something, face it to the back of the rear of the vehicle. The sound loads off the back and disperses it throughout the passenger compartment, and it sounds way louder. If you have a subwoofer in your other car and it's facing forward, turn it around. I guarantee you it's going to be louder and you will notice the difference. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, you guys. If anyone watching this knows where to get that connector for the subwoofer plug-in, be sure to leave a comment and so I can pick one up. Until then, I'll keep searching Google for one. Thanks for watching.